you so early this morning. My name is John James Audubon. You've heard of me, no? It is wonderful they've named a center for me. I was the first man to paint a portrait of every bird in North America. It took me more than 30 years, but eventually I amassed a collection of 465 species of birds. Many of them, I was the first to scientifically describe and therefore was able to name them. American Indians of North America had put up birdhouse boards to invite martins to live in their community. Because you know, a martin will eat 1,000 mosquitoes. And if you do the tall pole with a nesting box and you have dozens of martins raising dozens of young, each of them eating thousands of mosquitoes, it will greatly reduce the mosquitoes in your community. But because the American Indians had put up these birdhouse boards for so long, the purple martin will never again nest in the wild. They become dependent on us putting up those houses. And so if you neglect this relationship, their numbers will go down. But in communities where they have put up martin houses, they have always seen an increase in the population. Would you rather have more martins or more mosquitoes? I've just met you and I already know I would like to have more martins. I know mosquitoes quite well. I'm here today to share with you my love for birds. How many of you love birds? I'm also here to share with you some of my love.
It's all wet. You're all wet. It gets hot. I don't care. I know. Hey, man. Well, I thought he would spread his wings out. Maybe not. Where's the rest of your family? There we go. You can do the tail shake? You can do the tail shake? Sometimes as soon as he spreads his wings out, he shakes his tail. He's gorgeous. What's up, black vulture? Hey. He's so pretty.
Are we ready? Are we good? Okay, let's do it then. Now I went and relocked my box. You think I locked that box to keep the snakes from getting out? Is that it? Okay. All right. Okay, let's see who's home. Oh, wow. Check him out. We have ourselves a real live snake. How cool is that? My snakes are all immortalized by Kurt. They've been photographed many, many times. So we have ourselves a real live. No, so you have to sit down. Oh, yep. Okay, we're going back a little bit. You were good where you were. See what I said? Adults move back, children move forward. I'll make sure you see everything, okay? So we have ourselves a garter snake. 3 stripes. stripes down the back. Now, did any of you think this might be a venomous snake? No. You didn't think that? Why did you not think it was a venomous snake? Because I'm picking it up, right? Herpetologists who are snake biologists don't pick up snakes, venomous snakes in their hands, and they don't pick them up behind the head like you see on TV. Okay? That's not how it's done. That's TV. Y'all understand that? Nod your heads. So you knew when I picked this up, this was probably a harmless snake. And 62 years ago, when I was 4 years old, how old am I?
This is a female. I think they said it was a adult female. So this little lady is at least 2 years old. So you can see, comparing to the other guys, what is she lacking? How do we know this is a female?
Ruby.
No gorget feathers, right? So she has no gorget feathers. That's one indication of female. Now we have to watch for that, because when male ruby throats first fledge, they don't have any gorget feathers. So that's something to keep in mind, is just because, especially if it's in the summer, just because the bird doesn't have gorget feathers doesn't necessarily mean it's for sure a female.
Is that bird from right here?
So we actually don't know where this bird is from, because
What does my next question was, like, if you band them, will they come back to the same place next year?
yes. So that is something that we see a lot in these birds, is we will recapture them around the same time period in subsequent years. So we do every year at Strawberry Plains. Sometimes we will recapture.
Days later, and then she'll feed them a slurry of insects and nectar that she makes in her crop, and they'll stay in the nest for 3 weeks, because baby hummingbirds can't leave the nest until they're fully capable of flight. So they'll leave the nest, and they'll make a short flight to another branch in the nest tree, where they'll stay for about another week, and she'll feed them while she's building another nest.
So what is it she uses the nest?
Because they just don't.
They just don't. Okay.
I don't know why.
That's okay. Just curious.
Not in the same season, but they will be. They have returned to use them the following year, and that is if she has successfully fledged babies from that nest. If the nest was predated or something happened, it's not a good spot. She's not going to use it again. So, and we are just learning to do it. She does two a season. It's about 40 days from the time she starts to the time those babies go. So, and that's because she uses spider webbing to make that nest. So she gathers it strand by strand to make her nest. I actually have a picture of one. I guess it's back in the room. I'll bring it tomorrow.
I'm sure they had called for her.
They sure noisy this year.
Look at that long beak.
So once they're captured, they're docile, they're okay with all the handling?
Yeah. Birds are about 3 things: eating, not being eaten, and reproducing. So perhaps I'm a predator, so it's just staying very still until it feels me let go, and then it's going to fly.
little snakes like that one? Sure. Hold his tail so it doesn't fall around. Put your hands out flat. Let's feel him first. See, he feels like a gummy worm. See how squishy he is? He's like a squishy gummy worm or a gummy bear. And that's because he's got all these meat muscles and bones just like you. But he feels just like you right here. He's squishy. Would you like to round around your neck like a snake necklace? I'll hold his head, okay? You won't bother me. I'm going to put him around your head. You hold his tail for me. Now, show you how to see.
Joining me. So this talk is about a Gulf conservation plan that Audubon just finished back in February. This is it. I'll talk a little bit more about where you can find it. I didn't bring copies for everyone. It's about a 90-page document. It is on our website, so you can download it there. Hopefully, after hearing this talk, you're going to want to go to the website and download it and read it. But I thought I would just start off the talk with just some introductory information about the National Audubon Society and our coastal work. So my name is Kara Lankford. I'm the Director of Gulf Restoration for the National Audubon Society. I'm based down in Mobile, Alabama. Anybody else from the Gulf Coast? Yeah, where are you from?
Goshen.
Goshen.
Called Goshen.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is. I drive I-10 often, and I always see that exit. Yep. So I grew up in Mobile, and should be used to the heat, but golly, it's hot today. It is hot. You don't think so? Oh, it's humid. Yeah, it's humid. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready to be able to get outside and not sweat to death. But down on the coast, it's actually hotter than it is here, if you can believe that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I started working for Audubon about 2 years ago. Prior to coming to Audubon, I was Director of Gulf Restoration for Ocean Conservancy. We primarily focused on marine conservation. So this is a big change for me. I am not a bird expert, but I pride myself in knowing a whole lot about restoring the Gulf of Mexico. I did it before the oil spill, and of course the oil spill kind of marks restoration of that ecosystem for any of us that live there or work there. So I'll be talking a lot about the BP oil disaster and how it impacted birds, and of course just the health of that ecosystem and people. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on in. So the National Audubon Society was established in 1905 by concerned citizens like you. I'm sorry, am I blocking your view? Is this better? Yeah, thank you. And I think that's what makes it such a cool organization, is that it really was just a group of people who cared about birds and cared about the environment. And they saw such great change. I'm not sure why I'm cutting out here. I have to move a little closer. Is this okay? So I'm sure you guys have seen many of these iconic photos that represent a lot of the early stages of Audubon's work, protecting birds like the great egret from the plume trade, doing away with harmful toxic pesticides like DDT, and working to protect iconic landscapes like the Everglades, Western sagebrush country, and of course the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. So we like to say at Audubon, we're local everywhere. And while we are a national organization with a headquarters in New York City, an office in Washington, D.C., LA, we're not parachutists coming in from those big cities. We are part of communities everywhere, just as you see here at Strawberry Plains. And that's one of the reasons I pride myself at working for Audubon. We really are part of those communities. And I think we do some really great things, and Strawberry Plains Hummingbird Festival is just one of those examples. So our strategic priorities, this is how Audubon is structured. We have 5 of those. We focus on climate, coasts, water, working lands, and bird-friendly communities. So today I'm going to be talking about coasts. That's where my Gulf of Mexico restoration work falls under. So our strategies under coastal conservation are coastal resilience. So that's just ensuring that these landscapes that are getting plummeted by hurricanes, by sea level rise, are more resilient over time. So looking at ways that we can really mimic the natural environment through what we call natural or green infrastructure.
Not alone. Okay, so my name is Kim White, and I live in the Chicago area, and I worked in the education department at Brookfield Zoo for 19 years. I left about 12 years ago, and at about that time, I'll let you read some of these. I know you can read. So, but the main principle here is that nature, everything runs on sunlight. And when we look out here into the woods, if we're not in it, there's no garbage. Everything is being used. Nothing is being wasted. Everything has a purpose. And when we create things, a lot of times we make garbage. So if we look to nature to try to solve some of those problems, we're going to be able to learn to live more sustainably the way nature runs. Now, remember I said it wasn't a new idea? Here's Leonardo da Vinci. And when he was trying to figure out how to have humans be able to fly, he looked to things like bats and birds for inspiration for all of his inventions. But my favorite quote from him is this: "Those who are inspired by a model other than nature, a mistress above all masters, is laboring in vain." Why try to recreate this wheel over and over and over and do it poorly when nature already does it so beautifully? It was then even later on with the Wright brothers. Now, they're figuring out how to get that plane up in the air, but what do you do with it once you get it up there? So we have to be able to control our flight as well. One of their inspirations was when they were sitting on a hill and they were watching turkey vultures and pigeons in flight. And when they were watching the turkey vultures kettle, you know how they all like will go up in a big circle and just kind of be on the thermals? To be able to turn, they were just moving the tips of their wings, just a couple of feathers, and that was able to direct the flight of the bird. And so then they used that for inspiration to be able to direct the flight of their plane. Here's an example of biomimicry.
Morning, early in the morning and late in the evening. First thing in the morning, you'll hear that, what they call the morning chorus, right before the sun comes up. All the birds kind of get an email or something and they start calling all at the same time. But basically, they're not going to be as active in the middle of the day. And also, they're pretty company shy, right? Whenever they know people are coming, it seems like they go away. They don't want to be. I'm just kidding. It's primarily going to be that and also our weather pattern.
3 people or 1,000. Bree Fisher and me, I've now owned and operated my company for over 16 years. I now personally travel over 10 states. I visit roughly 350 schools during the school year. During the summer, I can get to all the venues that want to host me, and we hire other programmers. Usually it's teachers on break. You can make more money with me than you can teaching. Sorry, true, they get paid like dirt. Now, whenever we have a wildlife program, doesn't matter if there's 3 people or 1,000. There's always 3 easy rules, and you're doing good. Rule 1, I want your bottoms in your seat, your feet flat on the floor. If your feet can't touch the floor, that's fine. We just don't want to have kicky feet. Kicky feet will make these animals think something you don't want to be a part of. So rule 1, stay seated, stay quiet. If you can see my hands, you'll see these animals. Do not worry, I drink a lot of coffee to keep up this fake enthusiasm. But we have a very odd looking insect. You are looking at the Australian leaf insect. This is one of the largest leaf insects on our planet, and this little girl here is only about 9 months old. When she is full grown, she will be bigger than my hand. For those of us that remember the 80s, when parents were parents and children were children, remember Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom? There's that one scene where she has to pull the lever so Indiana and Short Round don't get run over. These are climbing all over in that scene. Classroom, household, library, learnable creature. These animals will do great. She does not bite. She does not fly. She does not make noise. And she eats things that most people classify as weeds. She loves to eat wild blackberry and pasture rose. So what we have right here is a consumer that eats only plant material. Plant eater's good. What's our better term for that? What do we call the consumer eating only plant material? Go. Very good. Herbivore. Say it, please. Herbivore. Remember, vegetarian and vegans are just confused people that don't know how to eat properly. Personally, I think they're nuts. So we have a very interesting herbivorous insect. Now, she has a confusing appearance to her. Now, in a true insect, we're going to have 6 legs. 3 legs on each.
And then the third and the fourth time, it goes higher. Listen and repeat, same words, but the melody changes. So listen, then repeat 2 times. Hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua. And then the 5th and the 6th time, it comes back down where it started. You already know it. So sing it with me 2 more times. Hey, Angua, hey, Angua. And then 2 extra ongua at the end. You already know it. Sing 2 onguas. Ongua, ongua. Are you feeling even more welcome? All together, deep breath and sing it like you mean it. Let's see if we can call them in. A welcoming song. A song to honor the ancestors of this place. Those who lived here long before us still walk this land. In their memory. Deep breath. Hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, Angua, Angua. Give yourself a round of applause. And don't forget, we'll sing it again. My name is John James Aduban. You heard of me, no? Yeah. As I traveled in the wildest places in America, often wherever I went, I would camp with the indigenous Americans, the first Americans. And often, as I am studying the birds of this land, I remember one time, the Shawnee invited me to go with them on a swan hunt, where the Ohio joins the Mississippi. It was on the Kentucky shore, and there were great flocks of swans, beyond number. Hard to imagine even today how many swans there were. It looked like this huge backwater lake, this backwater slough had been covered with new fallen snow. There were that many swans. And very wisely, we crossed the river far upstream. We circled around onto the shore and we hid ourselves. And then just a couple of them went out with their drums and they paddled across the river towards the backwater slough. And as they paddled, some of them, with drum in hand, they would sing, you know the song, deep breath. Hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, hey, Angua, Angua, Angua. chase the swans towards us.